Hello, and welcome to our Create Better Health series on nutrition. This episode is about the introduction to My Plate, which is a great tool for learning how to eat healthier and taking care of your body more. This is presented by the Abilene-Taylor County Public Health District. So let's jump into it. A lot of people are more familiar with the food pyramid. This is just about the same thing, but with a different approach, looking at the new information that we have on what types of foods most people should be eating. These things will change depending on the person, however, it is a great starting point. It is presented in a plate style, so you can have a basis of how you should be splitting up each meal, as well as what all your meals added all together should probably look like at the end of the day. So as we see here, fruits and vegetables make up about half of the plate, while protein makes up a little bit less than a quarter and grain makes up a little bit more than a quarter. And of course, on the side being dairy. So starting off, we're looking at fruits. Fruits are a very important part of our diets overall, and most of us don't get enough of them. So typically what we want is to look at whole fruits, rather than things that might have a little bit of fruit in them, such as most fruit juices. Typically, though, we're going to be looking at things such as having fresh fruit, canned fruit, frozen fruit, or dried fruit, and all those are really great options. Oftentimes, with canned fruit, you want to make sure that it is not in any heavy syrups or has any additional sugars to it. Same thing with dried fruit, as dried fruit oftentimes does have additional sugar as well. So while eating those things is great and you get that fruit intake, just make sure to also look at how much sugar you're getting along with it. Typically, the recommended amount daily is about 2 cups of fruit. And then vegetables. Generally, we need a variety of veggies. So a lot of us can fall into only having a certain type of veggie that we really lean onto. However, that is great to have vegetables in your diet no matter what that looks like. Having variety of different type of vegetables that are all of different type of colors and textures. First off, it makes cooking fun and it makes eating fun, but it also gives you a lot of different type of nutrients. And in order to stay healthy and keep your body happy, you need a lot of different type of nutrients. So make sure in order to keep your nutrition balanced that you incorporate vegetables into your meals, aiming for about 2.5 cups every day, as well as looking at ways that you can get some variety in what type of vegetables you eat. Then on to whole grains. So the grain section incorporates all grains. However, the most important type of grain to have is typically whole grains. The daily recommended amount of grains is 6 ounces, which is just about 3/4 of a cup. Some examples of what whole grains look like are typically things like brown rice, oats, such as even oatmeal, having whole wheat pasta, as well as 100% whole wheat bread. Whole grains overall have a lot more nutrients and fibers than things like refined grains. So think of things such as white rice, white pasta, white bread. All those things are refined grains and they don't have as much nutrients as you need in them. Onto protein. So protein is typically in the American diet what we get the most of. However, what we don't do the most of is usually going a bit more lean with it. So, what exactly is lean protein? Lean protein is typically types of protein that are just as fueling, however, have less fat. So, some examples of protein is meat, poultry, seafood, beans, eggs, nuts, seeds, lentils, soy products, and so much more. Protein can actually be a rather diverse type of food group, and there are a lot of ways to incorporate protein where it isn't the main focus of the meal. And that's why it might be a little shocking to some people that you should only get about 5.5 ounces of protein every day. Then on to dairy. So dairy is also incredibly important, and kind of shockingly, the recommended daily allowance of dairy is usually around 3 cups. And that actually fluctuates a bit with age, so younger people might need a little bit more milk. And overall, it is very important in order to make sure that we are getting all the nutrients that we need. The reason why we look at dairy is primarily because dairy has a good source of calcium, and typically dairy is supplemented with extra calcium. However, there are ways to get non-dairy calcium, such as some alternative milks like almond milk or rice milk, as well as leafy greens. However, with leafy greens, you have to eat a lot of leafy greens in order to get the same amount of calcium. Some ways that we typically eat dairy throughout the day is things such as milk, cheese, yogurt, as well as some others. The daily allowance being up to 3 cups partly allots for the fact that we kind of mix dairy into a lot of different parts of our meal throughout the day. So it doesn't mean that you're just drinking 3 cups of milk every day, but adding some dairy where it belongs and where you like it. So that's our overview of My Plate and a general introduction to that. We'll be using My Plate as a jumping point for pretty much this entire course, especially on the topic of things such as meal planning, which is going to be our next episode. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you there.